All righty, welcome back to another episode. I would usually say the square files, but that's on another video segment that I do for our construction company. I would say, hey, welcome back to the square files. I'm Raul Reyes with Square Construction, but we're not doing that. We're doing the Raul Reyes show where you get to see us talk about politics, and we're actually just going to make fun of a whole lot of people because there's just all kinds of stuff is going on. I mean, where do we start? Have y'all seen everything that's going down in Austin, Texas? The entire case against Ken Paxton, in my humble opinion, fell apart last week, and today they're just throwing more dirt on top of an already established dig. And so uh, the border is still a mess. And I'm going to show you a couple of videos here because that's sort of the beginning of our what typically I would call a monologue. And I remember listening to Rush Limbaugh, and he did have a monologue, and the rest of the 3 hours would be just completely on off the monologue. But ours, we're just going to call the rant because we're so upset about what's happening in the state of Texas and, of course, in America. It's not even it's not even funny. We try to joust and keep it lively here and provide some banter. So, on a Tuesday evening at 8 o'clock after your acid reflux is not going to come back, then maybe you can sort of absorb what we're trying to explain here. And we try to keep it real simple because, quite frankly, there's so much stuff going on. We have no idea where to even begin. But before I go too far, of course, yesterday was another year of 9/11. A lot of folks paying tribute, as we should. We should always remember and never forget. Makes you wonder. I mean, so you go through yesterday. I always think after about the 10th or 11th year, it just sort of becomes another day, but not really. And I liken it to Pearl Harbor. I wasn't alive then, but our grandparents and our great grandparents, even in their 70s and 80s, would remember Pearl Harbor like it was yesterday. I never understood that until, of course, 9/11. And so if you're like me, and you're watching the social media, Twitter, Facebook, whichever one, Instagram, you start to see all these videos. And for the first time in the 20 some odd years that we've, remembered 9/11, I started to say celebrate, but really it's a remembrance, right, of the people that perished that day. As I look at the videos, and I still can't believe that two airplanes knocked down, all that metal and steel. And I'm a home builder, guys. I'm a contractor. I can build you anything you want. And then today I saw another video of this building that's right next to the two buildings, and it sort of just imploded and fell, even though it just had like a little fire next to it. So it makes you wonder. No conspiracy theorists here, but in the way things are happening in America now, when you look at the Russian collusion, you look at everything they've thrown our way, COVID, the pandemic, get the juice bug, as my good friend Frank Lopez would say. If I got it wrong, Frank, come on board and let's talk. And but you see how I did that? We're trying to invite Frank Lopez to make a cameo appearance, and also Wes Verdell, by the way. Back to the point here is we've seen so much, facade, fall, fake, just all kinds of stuff. Then we have Chinese balloons that you got me asking all kinds of questions about the last 20, 30 years. And so all that said, yesterday, again, another remembrance of 9/11, not anything to go out and celebrate on. It's just, remember the people that perished. And of course, the impact on the Pentagon, and of course the people that literally took the airplane down in the middle of the field out in, I think it's Pennsylvania. And so So again, another 9/11 has gone by, and it makes you wonder, what have we learned? What have we learned? I have to tell you that there's a lot of things that we can pick up in today's world, and that is, uh, you got a guy like me asking, where are our elected representatives? And it was 3 or 4 years ago, or 2.5 now, back in January of 21, after Biden took over. We had just run the campaign for Congress. And anyway, we ran to Del Rio to try to stop what looked like an invasion to us, because I'm from Del Rio, Texas. So you see a lot of illegal aliens just walking the streets in Del Rio. They're over there at the convenience store in the corner. By the way, there's a couple of main drags streets in Del Rio. So if you have 100 illegal aliens waiting for the bus, you start to wonder something is going on. So I remember a few friends, we got together, we did a rally down there. We could see all of this coming. I mean, and what's crazy is that I know you do as well. What just boggles my mind is that I don't see a whole lot of people doing something about this. And that's not to say you're not acting on it. It seems like our elected officials, and I almost said Republicans because they're in charge of the state of Texas, but Democrats as well. They figured out how to maneuver the way we think or the way we do things, and they sort of get things done just in time for Christmas and November to come by, and then in January they start acting like they're Republicans again. And so to that end, I want to jump in on a couple of videos here that will get us to the conversation of today. It's the border, as it has been for me for the last 4 or 5 years since I decided, hey, I'm going to jump in after Will Hurd. And I think I said this the last time. I don't know. Let me just say this. I'm not the smartest, of all. I'm not a rocket scientist kind of guy, but I do have common sense. And as our pastor, would say, we have to pray for wisdom and discernment and understanding. And so I'm always asking for that. So when I see a guy like Will Hurd, something's wrong to me, you see? And for those people who don't know, he used to be the congressional 23rd district representative, 3 terms, turned into a complete Democrat, which I always said he was. And back then, a lot of folks could sense that they just fallen out of love with a guy like Will Hurd. So there comes Reyes. We're going to run for Congress, and off we go. What you learn between now, then and now, is that it looks a lot like a uniparty about how things are happening. I'm going to show that to you today as it relates to the border. So video number 1, and some of these are 30 seconds or a minute, so I go away for a little bit, but this is the Darien Gap, and I want to give credit to Anthony Aguero. You can follow him at Real Anthony Aguero on Twitter, and I think he's the same thing on Facebook. He usually puts his little ear watermark on the bottom. This video doesn't have it, but I'm giving him full credit. What you see here is just chaos down in the Darien Gap. That's down there in South America, where, not allegedly, it's proven that there are NGOs and the government working to move large amounts of people, illegal aliens, that end up right there in Del Rio or Eagle Pass, right along the Texas border, and then the rest is history. And so let's start with that video here real quick. This is Real Anthony Aguero. It's a really short video. See if you can pay attention. If you know Spanish, just listen to what the guy's saying real quick, and then we'll cut it off.
La mujer mía, oíste, esta es la mujer mía, la penetré, la preñé, oíste. Dale, joropo. Se llama, ¿qué subía esta mano? Caracolín. Vamos. Para que agarre guaya, pues, vámonos, vamos a subir, que llevo el motor prendido, compadre. Vamos. Dale, joropo. Chao, curraco, dale, barriguegua. Dale, mo.
Yeah, so there's a guy in there saying, "Hey, I got her pregnant," and I mean, just on and on and on. But the insanity that people in the jungle are reunite or they're uniting there or coalescing there to then come to the United States. And but the first thing they do, so if you were to look at the Darien Gap, what I've been told is that there's Chinese there, there's Africans there, there's all kinds of people that coalesce there. Then the NGOs get them over to the Mexican side, and then voila, they appear at the NGOs in places like Del Rio and Eagle Pass. And so the next video I want to show you is there they are. That's a real Anthony Aguero. But let me show you another one from Ben Berkwam. And again, you can follow these guys. These are, if you want to know what's really happening on the ground, these are folks that are literally out there showing you, because you're not going to get it from Fox News, CNN, nobody. If you already don't know, the mainstream media is crap. Because they're the ones trying to get the sheeple, sheep people that aren't really paying attention and who think we're crazy because we actually see what's happening, but somehow the fake news is really the real news, and it's so backwards. But anyway, let me put on here Ben Berkwam. I've met him a couple of times down in Del Rio. Let me show you his video here in 3.
People, look at this. Look at this, all the way down to the river, guys. Thousands, 4,000 in one day. And Lajas Blancas just being completely overrun, guys. Completely overrun because of Secretary Mayorkas and Joe Biden. Democrats did this. Kevin McCarthy, what are you doing to stop it?
Yeah. So there you have two real journalists out there in the jungles showing you where the world is coalescing, and where the NGOs then, with the help of governments, get these people right here to America. And now so okay, so there they are in the jungle, Raul. What do we care? Well, let me show you. This is from this morning. My good friend Frank Lopez has started just broadcasting again out of the Valverde Humanitarian Center right there in Del Rio. So if you don't know where Del Rio is, it's on that little hump of Texas. For those who are watching from across the United States, and we believe it or not, we have fans in Switzerland. So glad to have you on board. I think they're watching it at 3 or 4 in the morning or in the afternoon, but at a different time. Anyway, all that said, let me show you just a small clip of all these people end up at the NGOs in Eagle Pass, El Paso, and Del Rio, all the way to Brownsville. And this is where then the rest of it happens. And I'll explain it here in a minute. So again, we got Ben Berkwam, we got real Anthony Aguero providing you images in Arizona all the way through California, and they've gone down to the Darien Gap down in South America to show you where things are coordinated to end up in a place like the Valverde Humanitarian Center. Let me show you that video. This is Frank Lopez this morning in Del Rio, and this is a common occurrence every day. In 3, 2.
Morning, everybody. ¿De qué país son? Hola, buenos días. ¿De qué país son? ¿Guatemala? ¿Para dónde van? ¿Para Tennessee? Oh, ok. ¿Viene usted con su familia? ¿Viene su familia? Oh, ok. Gracias. Hola, ¿de qué país son? Venezuela. ¿Para dónde van? Para Dallas. Going to Dallas. People from Venezuela going to Dallas. Guatemala going to Tennessee.
Yep. So there you have it. These are 3 fantastic journalists. Frank actually just a citizen journalist there in Del Rio, has been, broadcasting, podcasting, live shooting, everything that's happened down there. He's gone down Eagle Pass. We have folks down in Brownsville, all the way to El Paso. This is what's happening even to this day. But you wouldn't know it because everything has been sanitized. So what happens is they go to the humanitarian center. You see all those people there. They just crossed the river. And what happens is, if I would have played the video a little bit longer, Frank would have shown you all the white buses that then turn around and end up at a place like San Antonio, which is just down the road here. I'm in Medina County, near San Antonio. And then from there, they go to Dallas, they go to Houston, or they fly out to places like Tennessee. You saw the lady from Guatemala and the gentleman from Venezuela. They've all got designated places they're going to in America. And what the mayor of New York is finally realizing is that his city is completely inundated with illegal aliens. And I know people's like, well, these are migrants. No, no, folks. You can't come through the river. You can't come through policy driven, not law, policy driven administrative agendas or mandates that a guy like Mayorkas can circumvent the laws of Congress and then say you're here legally. That's not going to fly. It's just it. I mean, you can't convince me otherwise, because now I get a little bit. And by the way, I'm not. I try to read my Bible, but you cannot allow aliens to invade your country. I mean, that's in the Bible. You cannot allow illegal aliens just to come here free, willy nilly. It's not going to happen. It shouldn't happen, because then we forfeit the laws by which we've all agreed to live under by the Constitution. You see, and so then you ask yourself, and this is the question for the day, right? Where, I said this in the beginning, where are the elected representatives? And you hear Anthony Ben Berkholm saying Biden broke the border. Yep, he did. And Democrats did this. Yeah. But he's asking, where is McCarthy? Where are the Republicans? Where, and this is where I have to watch it, because then I go into total rant mode here, because like everybody else, I'm really just ticked off with this whole thing. For 4 or 5 years now, we've been fighting this mess. If you don't think there's going to be consequences, they're already there. We already have high crime rates in places like Chicago. It is being multiplied with the illegal alien activity that has moved into their cities. And I said this before, a lot of these folks are young military-aged men that are coming to this country. And my sense and my opinion is a lot of these folks are here to take over the drug routes that already exist, and they don't play well. There's no the MS-13 and the new generation cartel out of Sinaloa and all these other. And you're supposed to say that in Spanish, but we're putting it in English here. But all these people, where are they going to work? Already, we're providing so much welfare. They're staying at a downtown hotel in New York. Let me ask my trustee, Linda Ruski here. Have you ever been to New York? No. She's waving. No, I haven't. And now, guess what? You really got to be careful going to a place like New York, because it's littered with crime. Chicago is a mess. San Francisco is a total chaos. And as we watch here and just allow this to happen. So guess what? Next March, they're going to ask you to go vote for the guy or the gal that can really solve this. And I remember, now I'm gonna politically bash her a little bit, but old dorky Dawn Buckingham, right? If you like her, that's your business. But she disparaged veterans throughout her whole campaign, because as veterans, we were asking her. She was saying things like, as the land commissioner, I'm going to solve the border problem. And I'm like, how? And to this day, she just keeps screaming about how Joe Biden and this and that. We knew it. We called her out, and we just wanted an explanation. She berated a Marine in public. I met the guy. As he said, all I wanted to know was, how exactly were you going to do that? And she didn't want you to question that, because guess what? They want to gaslight the public. They want to tell you that this is the way it's going to happen. And then come March, you vote for them. They get to November, they get elected, because we want to keep it red. And then what happens is they turn and do the wrong thing. You just have to look at the uh, way they're treating Donald J. Trump. Look, I'm the one guy who absolutely should dislike Donald Trump because twice he endorsed uh, dorky Tony Gonzalez. I call him phony Tony Gonzalez, and his other minion Pete Flores, who, by the way, is exactly what I said he is. These are pro amnesty people, and they're gonna ensure that these illegal aliens not only come here, but they get jobs, and they just get amnesty eventually. And so I'm the one person who ought to be upset with Donald Trump, but I'm not. It's politics. And I like the man. And I believed in the MAGA America First policies he put out. They were working. So, but where are the Republicans throwing themselves in front of buses to stop this mess? Even if you don't like him, remember that pendulum swings the other way too. But guess what? Democrats already know that Republicans don't play like that. We're supposed to be the good people, the good guys, and all that. And listen, it's politics. We're going to call everybody out. I'm done being nice. I'm done. I'm not going to get negative and crazy with it. But I'm telling you right now, we need to expose the truth. Because let me show you this here real quick. So here is Kevin McCarthy. If we can put it up, there it is. Today, old Kevin announced that he's finally going to impeach Donald Trump. He might as well, because they're just letting him railroad that guy. But they're going to impeach President Joe Biden. How long have they been in charge, and why did it take this long? And with everything, nothing is coincidental. Do you know why he's waited this long to impeach Joe Biden? And oh, by the way, somebody put a really funny meme. He put out that there's a possibility that we're looking into, that there might be, after reviewing all the data and information, if we find something, that we will impeach Joe Biden. Oh, they're going to inquire. They're not even going to impeach him. That's to say, nobody really knows if he's going to do it anyway. And so why did McCarthy literally wait this long? And everybody, by the way, all the Keep It Red folks out there, by the way, nobody's more Republican than I was, okay, or am, because we ran 2 campaigns staunchly supporting what I thought were Reagan and Trump Republican policies. That's where I'm at. But why did McCarthy wait this long? Because he's got a lot of people just cheering him on now, because he's going to impeach Joe Biden. Why didn't he impeach him on January as soon as they took office? And the answer is there's a big budget brawl that's about to happen, and they want to hide that with this impeachment. The Republicans, I'm told, are going to agree to some like $6.5 trillion omnibus bill that just saddles our grandkids with a lot more debt. Folks, that's biblical too. At a certain point, that debt is going to crush not just me, this generation X, the baby boomers as they're aging through, the in between, but the millennials, generation X, Y, Z, pick them. It doesn't matter. But their grandkids are never going to be able to pay this debt. And the last time around, I mentioned BRICS, BRICS, and BRICS, BRIC, involves China, Venezuela, and of course, Russia, as they work meticulously to take down the dollar. Already, China, Russia, and Saudi are looking to make deals outside the dollar market. And people say, oh, the dollar's strong and this and that. Not when you're $33 trillion in debt, and then all of a sudden McCarthy decides he's going to impeach Joe Biden, which we all wanted him to do that from the get-go, but he timed it, because guess what? The news media is going to tell you, newsflash, we are going to impeach Joe Biden. I'm going to bet that it doesn't happen, because guess what? Our very own representative right here in Congressional District 23, who's responsible for all the videos I showed you there, and I'm going to show you that in 2 seconds here. That guy's never going to vote to impeach Joe Biden. He didn't want to impeach Mayorkas either. So now for everybody who's listening across Texas and across the US and even all the way out to Switzerland and New Zealand, where we've got a couple of fans in those two countries, not sure how, but I think they're military. So God bless you guys for being out there doing what you do in the embassies. But why did he wait so long? And the answer is to gloss over the big budget brawl that's about to take over. And guess what? We're just going to saddle our kids with trillions and trillions of dollars. To this date, I haven't seen Republicans take on anything. Today, I did see, and some of you are watching this, the Freedom Caucus, Chip Roy, and a few others that were out in the front of the Capitol, no kidding, discussing how they want to defund a lot of things, to include an out of control Department of Justice, to include an out of control FBI. A lot of you are really busy working. I get it. You're busy paying bills. You're busy trying to make some money to pay for those taxes, which, by the way, in January are only going to override whatever the Texas legislature did, because it was just a monkey drill about convincing you that it was the largest tax cut ever, when it really wasn't. But back to the border. They go from the Darien Gap right there to Del Rio, or on the other side, Acuña and Piedras Negras and Eagle Pass. And guess what? They cross over with the help of the NGOs. They're picked up on the easement, that federal easement that's out there. They're picked up by Customs and Border Patrol, which, by the way, the state of Texas can't do anything about. They get routed over to the Customs and Border Patrol. They get their fingers fingerprinted. They can't be touched because it's a federal bus. Then from there, they get bused to that NGO where that we showed you where Frank was at. And then guess what? By that time, they've got a report to later date, which somewhat quasi by policy makes them legal, and the state of Texas can't touch them. That's why when Frank is there, there's no cops arresting illegal aliens. There's no customs. They've already processed through. And guess what? They've circumvented the congressional laws that you and I hired representatives like Tony Gonzalez, like Peter Flores in the great state of Texas, and Michael McCall and McCarthy, of all people, to do something about. You see? But guess what? Nothing is happening. Absolutely nothing. The only thing that's happening in the state of Texas where we actually could have done something is right there in Austin. They're having this big trial and impeachment of Ken Paxton. You got to ask yourself, why are we impeaching Ken Paxton? And I'm where I can, I'm glued to the social media as I'm watching. Some of these lawyers are the most just they're phenomenal in the way they're just taking down the witnesses, because it turns out they made up a bunch of crap about Ken Paxton. If you don't like Donald Trump, I get it. If you don't like Ken Paxton because he had an affair or he was somewhat trying to do something, I get it too. But that I can tell he's committed no crimes, and it's been showing. In fact, I think to the point that Dan Patrick yesterday said, we're going to work all the way through 7:00. We're going to do it all the way. See what happened was the Ken Paxton team and the witnesses, the people, the state that brought on the litigation, they all got 1 hour for opening and then 24 hours each for witnesses, questions, and answers. They were down to something like 14 and 12 hours each yesterday. I think they realized, Dan Patrick, I think, realized what a mess we have. This has turned into a complete gutting of the witnesses. There's not a there, and he wants to get through with it. So by Thursday, they're going to run out of time. And then guess what? He's looked at the senators and he said, you're not going to get to go home. You're going to work Saturday, Sunday, Monday until you deliberate, because he wants this done. Had it gone the other way, guess what? We'd have this, O.J. Simpson style kind of trial where everybody's glued watching what's happening all the way for 3 or 4 weeks, because it was slated to go 6 weeks. I think this is going to be over by probably Monday or Tuesday. And the reason is, I'm watching my own senator, Pete Flores, who I ran against. He's bored out of his mind. But guess what? He voted to bring it to the Senate without looking at all that evidence. So let me do a small recap, because we went from the border to the state of Texas. The question is, Where are the Republicans fighting to save our border, to lower our taxes, to stop our children being indoctrinated? They're in Austin playing impeachment against the one guy that took on the federal government. In a nutshell, let me tell you what happened here. This was what it looks like. Ken Paxton decided to investigate the FBI because its agents had gone rogue in some form or fashion, or at least he thought so. 5 or 6 of his minions that worked for him didn't like it. They said, no, the FBI doesn't do that kind of stuff. So how many of y'all don't think that the FBI is out to get you? Did you see what they did to the Proud Boys guy? 22 years. He wasn't even at the January 6th. Remember, he got arrested when he landed in D.C. He got hauled off. And because of an insurrection something, he's going to do 17 or 22 years in prison. That's an out of control DOJ. It's literally the government is using the DOJ to do things to Americans when it really wants to. And where are Texas Republicans? Nowhere to be found. Let me show you one more video. This is about 1.5 minutes or 2. You're gonna this is a great video too. Going back to the border, they're at the Darien Gap. They come to places like Acuña and Piedras Negras, which is just across from Del Rio and Eagle Pass, Texas. There's others like in Brownsville, down in Matamoros, and El Paso and Juarez. There's plenty of NGOs out there too. I'm just kind of pointing out to 2. They go there, they cross over. You saw Frank's video out there. And the question to me is, where are our elected representatives? You notice how I didn't say Republicans or Democrats. I'm not even asking for Republicans anymore as much because they've let me down so much it's not even funny. We'll talk about the 2024 election, how I think it's just going to be a bloodbath for Republicans because they have shown no backbone, absolutely none to do anything. Let me show you one more video that goes with those 3 videos and see what you think here. This is Tucker Carlson calling out Greg Abbott. So it's not just Raulito here having a fit and a rant because we have a problem at the border. The world sees it. They see what me and a guy like Frank Lopez, like Bianca Gracia, Rolando Rodriguez, these are all wonderful people, like my friend Gabino Barrera down in the border. These are all people who knew from day one when Trump was not reelected, that the border was going to go straight to hell and there would be chaos. Now watch Tucker Carlson call out our governor, Greg Abbott.
Because democracy isn't functioning. If democracy was functioning in America, in Michigan, in California, the District of Columbia, where I live, the state of Maine, the state of Texas, how many Texans do you think are all on board with letting 7 million people cross into their state illegally? What percentage? Zero. I don't care what your race or national origin. Nobody is for that. That's insane. Has the governor of Texas done anything meaningful to stop that? No. The Republican governor? He's got a National Guard. He's the commander-in-chief of the National Guard, and it's Texas, so they're all large. And they have double-stack magazines in their sidearms. You think they couldn't stop that in a week if they? Of course. Just assemble along the border. We're not doing this. No, he refuses to do that. He won't do it. And it's not like no one suggested. I've suggested to him 3 times, including in private at a cocktail party in Dallas last year. What are you doing, man? Don't you have a National Guard? Why don't you seal the border? Oh, it's very complicated. No, it's not. No, it's not. If someone's trying to break into my house, it's not complicated to repel the person. Do you have a firearm or don't you? Are you willing to defend your house and your children, or aren't you? Well, it's more complicated. That really, tell me how. Speak slowly so I can understand. It's not more complicated than that. It's more dishonest than that. You're lying to me. You don't want to do it because your donors don't want you to do it. It's that simple. Greg Abbott. Liar, and worse than liar, betrayer of your own people. That's what that is.
Yeah, I mean, I could end the program right there. I really could. Liar, and that goes for I'm just gonna throw under the bus again. Don Buckingham. Don't go around campaigning that you're going to solve the border because you're so desperate to get elected because you had like 5 folks campaigning against you. Folks, I'm not the only one. This is Tucker Carlson, one of the most popular people of our day, and who was gotten rid of from Fox because he was about to expose a lot of things like Ukraine, like the border. But you see him there calling our governor a liar and a betrayer. And let me tell you something. Back in 2021, when Biden took over and we held a rally in Del Rio with Frank Lopez, we believed Greg Abbott when he went to Del Rio and he says, I'm going to secure the border, we're going to build the wall, and we're going to arrest everybody. None of that ever happened. Go ahead and get too excited here. But what's going on is why is Abbott not securing the border? There are states' rights that we have literally just established new presidents that we may never ever get back because we've allowed the federal government to do whatever the hell it wants. And you see Tucker saying, "Hey, it is time to, grab your pair and do something about this," which goes back to some of my final points from last week. Is I see a lot of mama bears out there trying to tackle the individual problems at the libraries and at their, of course, at their, city councils, and trying to hold school boards accountable. And I keep asking, where are the guys? Where are the men? Where are the men? And when you look at what Tucker's saying, he's asking, what are you going to let Greg Abbott do this? I mean, they have taken the "don't mess with Texas" and just completely stomped on that slogan. I mean, don't even look at me, because the bottom line is we're Texans and we're supposed to do something about these things. And guess what? Here we are watching as Greg Abbott sits back and thinks it's too complicated. This is why I ran a campaign against this guy. Bling. There's Tony Gonzalez. This is the congressional district representative along the border, all 800 miles. This is 10 days into his first, he still didn't have money to buy a nice suit, and not sure how he knows how to wear boots. But anyway, the bottom line, he's wearing his silly mask here. He's hanging out at the NGO in Eagle Pass, declaring and pledging his loyalty to his people. We knew what he was doing. We said it from day one. And half the crowd looked at us and said, "Oh, you're crazy. You're being too negative." No, we exposed this guy for who he was. And now to this day, he's turned into, like all other Republicans, or not most Republicans. I do like Chip Roy and a few other folks, useless. McCarthy decides he's going to impeach Joe Biden in the middle of the biggest budget brawl we're going to have, because guess what? We don't want any more debt for our children. But he does that because he knows that some people are stupid enough to go, yeah, we're going to teach Joe Biden and we're going to have a good time doing it, while we just saddle our children with more money. What I've shown you is the Darien Gap with Ben Bergquam and Anthony Aguero, showing you how they end up at the border. I showed you what Frank Lopez is showing you in Del Rio. He's been up and down the Eagle Pass and a whole other places. They're all showing you what's happening while the country is being invaded. You now have Tucker Carlson saying what we've been saying from day one. We have a lying SOB of a governor who won't use his backbone to take care of this border. And so for me and my voice and everything I can, we're going to scream it as loud as possible. The men of Texas better wake their asses up and start doing something about it, because come March, you cannot vote for a Tony Gonzalez. You cannot vote for Greg Abbott, although he's not running. And you cannot vote for anybody like Don Buckingham, who lies to you in your face and says, we're going to secure the border, although nobody knows how. By the way, I send that lady, I said, look, here's a lizard. This one is endangered species. Use this lizard to try to at least pretend like you're doing something. Nada, Linda. Nada. Absolutely nothing. All right. I want to bring on a good friend of mine. We showed his video earlier, and it's perfect timing because I could go overboard, and then they start cursing. My mother's going to call me and tell me to stop. Linda, you got to tell me to stop. We got our trusty sidekick over here, technician Linda Ruski, the best in the house. And anyway, we're having fun with this, but the reality and the seriousness is we're getting screwed every day, and we're paying out taxes big time. And instead of doing their jobs, let me show you one video before we get Frank on here. This is what they're doing. By the way, as dramatic and as exciting this is a waste of bleep time. Here you go.
You signed this, yes?
I did, yes.
It says, we have a good faith belief that the Attorney General is violating federal and/or state law. Yes?
Correct.
You had a good faith belief on October 1st, 2020. Yes?
Yes.
Did you bring any documentary evidence or physical evidence to the FBI?
No documents, no physical evidence.
And just
So they go to the FBI, and by the way, if I show the rest of that clip, because I don't want anybody to call me out, the guy's saying it was a preliminary visit. Well, if you go preliminary visit the DOJ or the FBI, if they're going to talk to you, you better show up with the receipts, as my kids would say, which means the evidence. The guy shows up and they don't have any evidence. It turns out with a bunch of whiny babies who didn't like Ken Paxton for doing what? Taking on the FBI. Crazy. By the way, I also have Wes Friedel on the line. We're going to get him after Frank. We'll do 5-10 minutes with Frank here. And Wes, if you'll hang on, we'll talk to you. But without further ado, my good friend, Frank Lopez.
Hey, Ro, can you hear me, bro?
I got you loud and clear. How are you, man? Listen, I showed your video from earlier. No doubt that you're showing and exposing things like Ben and Anthony Aguero down in the jungles. I mean, this is insanity, isn't it? I mean, we've been saying this now for 4 years, 3 years. What has it been now?
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, look, I retired from the Border Patrol in 2018. Now, Trump was still the president, but the writing was on the wall. Something different had entered this dynamic, Raul, of people moving to the border. And so you may recall 2017, 2018, the George Soros caravans were making their way up through Central America into Mexico. Yep. And I knew something was different. And there was, and so there were other factors, of course, and most prominent was just God nudging my heart. It was time to go. I left 5 years on the table. I could have stayed another 5 years. Actually, my birthday was in August, so I would have retired at age 57 on the last day of August, just a few days ago, brother. So I would have still been in the Border Patrol, and no doubt I would have been pushing back on that ungodly, demonic vaccine that they were shoving into everybody's bodies. I would have been pushing hard against that, and certainly making my voice heard about how the Department of Homeland Security had been turned into the Department of Human Smuggling, and how Alejandro Mayorkas was a traitor, and he needed for the men and women of the Border Patrol and Immigration and Customs Enforcement and every entity, every agency under the Department of Homeland Security to say no to the treachery, say no to the betrayal to the American people, to the Constitution, to our way of life, to our future, to our children, brother. They needed to get a case of the big green fever, which is what we used to call the green flu, the green fever. Whenever it was our way of saying something ain't right, we can't get out and protest. We can't walk out, but we would certainly get the green flu and slow things down. And so now the motto of the Border Patrol is honor first. But I'll tell you what, brother, I'm talking with a lot of men and women in green in the Border Patrol who feel anything but honor at what is happening to our country, and the way that every mechanism, every process is being used to just create and facilitate this massive invasion into our country. And on the heels of 9/11, Raul, I mean, and I heard what you were saying, brother. Thank God for Ben and Oscar Blue and Anthony and others, RGV Truth down in the Rio Grande Valley, and the folks out in Arizona who are out there broadcasting. We're all doing our part with whatever we can, very limited funds compared to the monstrosity of funding that the left has, that the globalists can bring to the table, brother. We're doing what we can. But you know, 9/11 just happened, of course, yesterday, bro. And people say, hey, aren't you going to post and everything? And look, man, people died, obviously, that day. Yeah. It was a terrible day. But one of the things I kept seeing, Raul, was never forget. And I'll tell you what, brother, with this Biden administration, with what the globalists are doing, the unit party. Let's not forget, man. The blame is not all on Biden. The blame is not all on the globalists. There's also much blame to be placed on the rhinos, on the establishment within the Republican Party, who are allowing this to happen. They love to say that Congress holds the purse strings. I don't see any money drying up for any of these operations.
No, and Frank, you know, you hit on a sore subject for me, because, you know, and this is the point to today's podcast is, you see the mess, and you see what's happening down in Austin. 60 Republicans joined Democrats to bring you this crap show that's happening down in Austin, when they should be lowering your taxes. By the way, I went to my tax protest because they raised the heck out of the value of my house. And typically it's like, well, that'd be great because I can sell it. I don't want to sell my house. It's a refuge. It's a respite for me. And I want to pass it on to my kids. But guess what? They're going to tax us out of these homes because they can. And instead of fixing that, they're down in Austin playing impeachment of the only Republican. I don't care what he did. There is no moral. I mean, there's a lot of politicians that they're not perfect, folks. I mean, voted for Trump. The guy had multiple affairs. You love that guy, but somehow our Republicans, want to impeach Ken Paxton. But to the point that I wanted to make, Frank, is those 60 Republicans are now political targets for March, when we roll around the corner, and there's no excuse, absolutely none. And the same thing happens at the federal level, because here we are. I heard I said this earlier. I heard the Freedom Caucus is out stomping around. Great. That I know of, Frank, there's 40-something Freedom Caucus members, but when they went to elect McCarthy, only like 19 of them stood up. Where's the other 20? You now know your target there too. All that said, I mean, we have a mess both at the federal and at the state level. Go ahead.
And so, I mean, and it's I think people, Raul, not just you and I, obviously others have awakened to that. Look, people say never forget about 9/11, and it ties into what you're saying. People have forgotten. I didn't say anything about it yesterday because we need to honor those who died, remember them. But honestly, though, our elected officials are cowards. Many of them, most of them,
for sure.
Cowards. They have no spines. They're greedy, and it's all about them. And some of them are true ideologues. Ideologues who are hell-bent on destroying our nation by any means possible. And so they say never forget, but we have forgotten, because look at what transpired on 9/11, bro. You know, what we're told, and I'm sure there's layers to this, and there's things we will never know about what actually happened. But these were supposedly, anyways, people from Saudi Arabia, the majority of them who had come in on visas. And so if Saudi Arabia is supposed to be an economic partner, and we're supposed to be working with them towards Middle Eastern peace, if some of their citizens did this to us, what about the millions, Raul, the millions that are coming across the border now? So 9/11, never forget. Sorry, guys, they have forgotten. The very mechanisms which allowed those people to attack us, 20 odd years ago, those have now been exploited. They have been ignored. They have been perverted. And so now God only knows who is amongst us. I have received a text. I was down in Bronzeville, and somebody said, look, leave these people alone, Frank Lopez Jr. They just, the majority of them just want a better way of life. And that's the key right there. He says a majority of them. And what concerns me is that small minority. Exactly. Be it one person, be it 5, 10, 100.
One person, Frank, is one too many. And this is why you can't come through the side door, the back door. You have to come through the front door. But real quickly, because this is kind of where I get into the gaslighting of the Latino population, because this is what happens, and you know this. All of a sudden these candidates show up, like a Tony
Yeah.
Gonzalez and a Myra Flores, and they're all hanging out with the Libre Initiative as if that's okay. Which, by the way, this is a pro-amnesty group, and I've run
Yes.
against two candidates. Tony and Frank has done the same thing, and Pete Flores, who are in bed with these people. And
Yeah.
somehow they're going to stop this border mess. In fact, Tony Gonzalez has already he submitted the Hires Act bill. You know what that is? That's to employ illegal aliens. Now that he's brought them in, they got to give them jobs. All I can tell you, Frank, is that I'm just hoping nobody forgets March, because guess what? We're going to have plenty of candidates, not just in this district. And for everybody who thinks we're just talking border right now, we are, because that's Tony Gonzalez is on this district. You got Henry Cuellar down at the bottom, Monica de la Cruz, and if you go up to Houston, you got Crenshaw and all these other folks. But right now, they've all proven themselves useless, absolutely useless. While my hometown of Del Rio, where Frank lives and a whole lot of people, we have no real thorough jobs, not pension-like plans unless you work at Laughlin Air Force Base. The same can be said about Eagle Pass. So a lot of the children that grow up on this border, guess what? They end up in places like San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, because this is where the jobs are. So I think it's purposeful, but I think it's malice. I think it's terrible, Frank. We need to change. What do you think happens in March? I mean, do people forget?
Well, so yeah. To finish this thought, go full circle on this, bro. The globalist, the unit party, it is real.
Yep.
And this aspect of politics nowadays, bro, where there is some, how say it, some outdated sense of allegiance to the brand. You have, and what I'm talking about is grassroots, America first, conservative, constitutional patriots who think that for some reason, come March, they have to show allegiance to the brand. And by showing allegiance to the brand means voting for a person who voted to impeach Attorney General Paxton. Why? Because he wears the R. And so what I'm trying to say is it is time to wake up, people, because they have hijacked the Republican Party, much like the Democrat Party was hijacked by the socialist, communist, totalitarians, the nut jobs that have hijacked the Democrat Party. The Republican Party has been hijacked by an open borders globalist lobby, brother. That is who is in here. The globalists have infiltrated the Republican Party. Might as well call it the globalist owned party instead of the grand old party. And so, we work hard to get rid of these traitors, to get rid of these charlatans, get rid of these carpetbaggers. We got to fight hard to make sure that
I know what carpetbagger you're talking about, but we'll leave that one alone for now. Let me say this, Frank. Let me say this as I'm going to wrap it up with you here, so we can get Wes on here. But you're right. And here's the other thing that I see that just crushes me a little bit is even a lot of the people that are in these political circles, they've seen the real warriors like you, myself. We're not adhered to big packs that own us. We get close enough, you run a great race, and they still go with the other guy that sort of is running with other people because somehow that money is going to save them, and so I'm just wondering how much of these folks either really discern the truth or don't want to know the truth, or literally are in bed with the other side, but they just sort of pretend like they're real conservatives or Republicans. Last word, 30 seconds.
Yeah, and so that's the real question. Look, you fight like you're fighting for your life up to the March primary, but the real question, Raul, is what are people gonna do? Look, I know you're gonna have Wes on. I hope he beats the tar out of old Murr, because Murr was leading this in the state, Texas House of Representatives. I hope that Wes beats him, but people need to be asking themselves, what are we gonna do if the incumbent traitor still wins the election? So I think that people need to be getting ready. Maybe this is just an idea. Maybe there need to be real America first patriots ready to jump on his independence just in case that the establishment uniparty globalist wins the election anyways. We have got to fight tooth and nail, and that's going to mean not necessarily walking away from the brand, from the party, but case by case, surgically removing these cancers from the bigger body.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. It's terrible, Frank. Hey, listen, give us your Facebook page. Is it Frank Lopez, U.S. Border Patriot?
Yes, Frank Lopez Jr., U.S. Border Patriot. And also my website is usborderpatriot.com.
Okay, you guys check out Frank, U.S. Border Patriot. He's on Twitter as well. Check him out. Thanks for letting us share your video. And go watch him. He's going to be, of course, going live a couple more times. You've got something like 500,000 views literally on one of those. Congratulations for spreading the truth. Keep at it, and we'll talk soon. Okay, buddy?
All right. Take care, bro. God bless.
Okay, God bless. All right. Let me bring on another good friend of mine, Wes Verdell, here in about 10 seconds as he gets himself ready. But yeah, look, you heard Frank there. What's going to happen in November if a guy like Merg gets through? Are we going to vote for him? You're not going to convince me and a bunch of other people to just keep voting for the same rhinos, Democrats in disguise is really what I think they are. And the good news about what's happening in Austin and literally at the federal level is God has shown us who the enemy is. You see, now whether you accept that and do something about that, that's a whole different story. But I'll give you the final rant once I come back. Let's talk to Wes. I don't know where he's at, so he's going to tell us here in 3, 2, 1. Wes Verdell, how are you, buddy? Hey, can you hear me?
Hey, doing sorry for the lighting. I'm on the side of the road. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you covered there. We got you covered. Go ahead. Where do you find yourself right now?
Okay. So I am on my way to Austin to watch the impeachment for tomorrow. Sorry for being yeah, as much light as I can so you can see me.
No worries. Hey, so just a real quick question because we're having a reverb here, but how's the campaign going? Give us the 10, 15-second version. We wanted at least because a lot of the people that watch this on our podcast are literally, counties like Medina County, Bandera. It looks like you're everywhere. What's it looking like out there? I know you're still working with GOA. You're a big gun rights guy. How are you feeling right now? Are you talking to a lot of folks? Anything that you can tell us in reference to that?
Yeah, everything's really good for us. Like, we've ran before and knew the odds were against me. This feels significantly different this time, this race. A lot of it really mad at my opponent. My opponent pushed really hard on the Paxton impeachment, and he's leading the impeachment for the House. And that's really backfired on him, more than he can chew. And when you go after, I don't know what you expect to happen, but when you go after the most conservative attorney general in the country, they'll be mad at you. And that's what he's doing. And when I heard this earlier, like every witness, they're not showing any evidence of him actually a crime. And with this, I think this has the Bushes and maybe even cover some other people's fingerprints all over this. There's a movie on Amazon called I guess in the Architect, and if you all that, I mean it's almost like what's going on here. So it is. I think it's very obvious that the establishment that has had control for a long time of the legislature is starting to lose control, and this is like last grasp to try to regain that control, backfiring on them. And I mean, I wish mine had done a great job, because I've got other things I'd like to do. We got a family business home. I work for
you got a business to run, right?
Like I work. Yeah, and my dad's 68 and running the business, and he's expecting me to take it over, and I feel guilty for that. But I can't watch these guys just destroy our country. Like that's guilt that I have. If I do nothing, then it's my fault for not stepping up. If we're looking at our children and grandchildren, we don't step up and don't do anything, it's our fault we're going to suffer through. And I have that guilt, which weighs more than not being at the shop. Right? My dad also understands, and I tell him it's his fault complaining about the government while I was growing up. So here I am.
Well, listen,
things haven't got her. You look over the last 20 years,
Yeah, yeah, things are not getting they're not improving. And look, we're certainly glad you're in the race. Murr absolutely has to go. I know you took him on the last time around, and so we're watching your race closely. What we'll do is let's see if we can get you on next week at a different setting here. We're getting a little too much double reverb, but I'm glad you popped in. We just wanted to show folks you're on the campaign, you're working hard, folks. Give us your website. If not, we'll put it down in the comments. If you can donate to Wes Verdell, he's going to need all the help. And nobody knows this better than you and I. When you run a campaign, $5, $10, $20, whatever you can to donate, so that he can do the battle he can with against Murr. But anyway, last 10, 15 seconds. What do you got?
Yeah, VerdellTexas.com. That's V as in Victor, or DELL 4OR Texas.com. Appreciate your support. Even if you can't donate, go see emails. So I appreciate everything. Thank you.
All right, Wes, stay at it, buddy. We'll talk soon. God bless you and stay safe, okay? All right, thank you. All right, sorry, got a little double reverb on that. But look, as you can see, there's folks out there taking on these people like Andrew Murr, and there's people taking on Tony Gonzalez. If you live in other parts of the state and you woke up to the nightmare of a rhino, actually, and again, I'll say it again, Democrats disguised as Republicans, you need to get after it. Wes Verdell there, they run a business in Brady. He's supposed to ascend and take over the business for his father. That's what he was trying to tell us. But he feels guilty if he doesn't do that, and he feels guilty if he doesn't go fight for Texas. A lot of us are like that. That's why we're podcasting. That's why we're at the border. That's why Frank is out there. That's why Ben and real Anthony Aguero, they're doing the best they can to, guess what? Show you the truth. This is why I'm going to keep going on a rant, and I'm going to tell every Christian and just any men out there, you got to wake up. The ladies are out running us and outpacing us as they're showing more cojones than we have and trying to save Texas. Because if Texas is lost, guess what? So is the rest of America. And I'm telling you right now, Frank pointed it out earlier. Are you going to vote for Murr in November? There aren't enough people to convince me to do that in Medina County. And you can write that and put it down there, carve it. I don't care. If Andrew Murr's in November, no way in hell me and a whole lot of people are going to vote for him, because the Republican Party has misjudged our values and our conservative and moral values to always do the right thing. But we've had enough. We've had enough. And I said, we're going to go on a lot more rants about a guy like Tony Gonzalez, a guy like Crenshaw in Houston, who's also useless. And of course, even a guy like Peter Flores, who sits there and votes to take the Ken Paxton impeachment to the Senate. He knew better. Hell, I wasn't a fan of Donna Campbell until she said, no, we shouldn't be doing this. So Donna Campbell, God bless you. Great job on that. We need more of her and less of Peter Flores and less of Tony Gonzalez. If you're supporting these people, you're showing your true colors. That goes for any rhino in Texas. Absolutely any rhino in Texas. Again, we're going to put Wes Verdell's website there. Linda, if you can just put it on the comments for us. And of course, Frank's, his Twitter account and all that. These are all people you can watch. Ben Berkwin, real Anthony Aguero. This is real news. This is real just assessment. And you get them from the guy from Del Rio, Texas. So all that said, it's time to wake up. It's time to do something about it. Help me do that. Next week, I'm hoping to have Gavino Barrera from Del Rio on here, and a few other folks that are literally now waking up in different cities. We have a lot of contacts. They're popping up. So I want to thank everybody for doing that. I'm going to ask it one more time. If you can hear this podcast and you want to just volunteer to help us take back Texas one city at a time, I need you to private message me. We're not going to sell you anything. We just want you to volunteer and be somebody we can talk to. We're going to try and create a meeting/rally in Del Rio for men who have had enough with this border crap. So if you're from Del Rio, stand by. In a couple of weeks or maybe more, we're going to do something in Del Rio. We're going to call all the men out, and we're going to show force saying, hey, enough is enough of this. Because in 24, in March, we're going to vote every one of you who decided that this is okay for us when it's really not. Our children are in danger with fentanyl. Our children are in danger with men that are coming across this country that are known molesters, child abusers, that are literally raping little girls and boys, who are murdering or using them just to get across because they have to be a family unit. That has got to stop. And for all my folks out there, believe me, I am the most imperfect guy. But we have got to start putting God back into this country, because if we don't, we're going to lose it. So when I say we need men, we need men, Christian men. You don't necessarily go to church, don't care. You're tired of this crap, PM me. We're going to create a large swath of people that in March, when we walk over the Texas legislature, there's at least 50, 60,000 of us, and they're going to listen to us, because we're not just 3 or 4. It really matters that there's numbers, there's power in numbers. So if you want to follow this old lieutenant colonel across the hill and into Texas legislator and point to people and say, you're going to get voted out, call me, PM me, get on board. We're going to get a website here soon. We've already got something like 600-700 people from the last meeting. Don't fall behind. We need you and everybody you know. By the way, that includes women. What I'm doing here is making sure that the women know that the accolades go to you all, because right now the mama bears are beating the papa bears, and the papa bears have got to step up. So all men, that's it. Grab your belts, throw them on. Let's go. Do like Tucker Carlson. It's time to stand guard at the door and say, no más. Se acabó. That's enough. It's over. We're done with this. And in March, we're going to prove it. We have targets. There's 60 Republicans that voted for this crap to impeach Ken Paxton. Instead of lowering our taxes, securing the border, protecting our children, we're going to go after those guys politically. We're going to vote you out. Same thing happens at the federal level. Target number 1 is Tony Gonzalez. If you're in District 23 with the 29 counties and you can hear my voice, I didn't say I'm running. What I'm saying is, I'm going to create a mass amount of people that Bexar County down there won't be able to find enough votes in the middle of the night to create a loss of 7 votes, because I haven't forgotten that either. So God bless all of you. Leave us a message. Share the hell out of this video. Sorry, Pastor. Share the heck out of this video and show it to everybody and tell them it's time to get on board with the Reyes Riders. We're going to ride across this state, across this district, across every city, and we're going to take it back in March. Enough is enough. The targets have been highlighted. God has presented it to you for you to sit back and do nothing. Nothing. You'd be remiss of the men and the women you are. Not just that, but the Texans that God put us and blessed us to be. With all that said, I want to thank every one of you. Mom, I'm going to settle down now. It's all going to be good. And I want to thank the technician here for keeping it all lit. Lights in the back look great. Good job, Linda Ruski. And for my friends in El Barrio de San Felipe, wake up, brothers. The Uvalde Estates folks, you know it. I'm calling you out. Eagle Pass, hey, El Chuco down there in El Paso, you know me. Come on, let's get on with this. And if anybody knows Nino America there in Midland, Odessa, tell them to give me a holler. We'd like to get him on here. We absolutely like his podcast, and we'd like to interview him as well here too. You want to talk? You want to rant? Get on board. I'll bring you on here, and we'll have a great time exposing and telling the truth about these rhino, Democrat, fake Republicans, representatives, whatever they may be. America has had enough. We're going to grow a pair. We're going to be Texans. With all that said, God bless you. Have yourselves a good night and share the heck out of this thing. We will see you next time.